Well, good morning, and I'd like to welcome all of you today who have come to this live teaching presentation that we are about to have. It's going to be very crucial. It's very setting. It's way overdue, all right? Because we're going to have a teaching today on what the governments on all levels, I'm talking federal, state, county, township, are failing to tell the people on city governments, town governments, as to what is taking place against them and their families. You know, poison is a very powerful word. And I want to tell you how powerful it is. Because poison does not know or recognize color. It does not recognize gender. It does not recognize race or species or animals or anything else. Poison does two things to people. It maims people in one way or another. It could be psychological, mental. It could be brain damaging. It could damage your heart, your lungs, or whatever else. And it kills. It destroys. Now, there's two massive drug epidemics that's taking place in the United States and throughout the world, in many places at this time. One is an unlawful drug epidemic that the so-called color of law says is cocaine and heroin and opium and things like that people buy that are listed as unlawful, illegal, that make young people addictive, and it screws their brains up and fries their brain, and it makes them incoherent of what's going on, and it harms them. And then there's the so-called lawful poisoning of drugs, in America especially, and in the other nations, which you can call fluoride, and you can also call vaccines. Today, we understand what the unlawful drugs are, all right? And people who use these are penalized, and they're put in prison if they are caught. But trouble is, if they catch everyone, we'll only have probably half a Senate and Congress and lose half the judges and the attorneys and everything else.
That's the truth.
But today we're going to go for the drugs that are killing and harming our people, of which are supported and backed up by government and by the vast majority of the medical profession, the doctors and things like that. This is an extremely important presentation of truth in the name of Yahweh the Christ. You know, the Father said in the end day there would be what? There would be violence and famine. Is this correct? And what else? There would be plagues, didn't he, in the land? So we're going to be talking in the portion of plagues today. And I'm sure you're going to be well tuned in because of the presence that we see of massive autism and other sicknesses that are so prevalent in the land, of which then the petrochemical companies create a drug, another drug, to put in the body to counterinfect that, and then they need a drug to counterinfect that. And that's why the whole country and the whole world is drugged, one way or the other. Our teaching today and our presentation today is entitled The Poisoning of the People in the United States. But we will today expand the United States worldwide, especially in the white European nations of the world, because we are the lost sheep of the man called Israel. We are the chosen people. We are the ecclesia. We are the covenant people of our Father. Flesh, bone, blood, and spirit. All right? I'm Dr. James P. Wickstrom, P.O. Box 308, Linwood, Michigan, 48634. My blog site is Dr. James P. Wickstrom at gmail.com. And we have Arcodius of YouTube, and those of you that will be in Arcodius from all over the world, I'd like to welcome you here also to this presentation. And it's Saturday, December 6, 2014. You know, our people, it's come to the point where our people have got to stop blindly trusting what their government tells them. They have got to stop blindly following what a doctor tells them without getting, for example, a second or third opinion. And they themselves have to start going into search engines on their computers, because most households have a computer now, to where when drugs or different prescriptions are to be given to their children or whatever, they should go in and see what these things are really going to do and the side effects that's taking place against our people. Father Yahweh said you're not to be putting this foreign garbage and deadly poison in your body. You're to remain pure, for He is pure. And He said, I have given you the herbs for the healings of the nations of Jacob Israel.
That's right.
All right? So, you recall my last presentation lecture. I talked about the stupid virus that has been found. The follow-up going into this now is going to be what that stupid virus, what caused that stupid virus, all right? And of course, you've seen that on my last presentation, the stupid virus, out of Real Science, naturalnews.com. Almost half the population, this is in the United States, may be infected with a mysterious virus that makes people stupid. Now you think that's funny, but we'll see how funny it is as we get into this live presentation. All right, it comes from November 11, if you recall, out of Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, naturalnews.com. Scientists at Johns Hopkins Medical School have identified a mysterious virus that literally makes people stupid. And it has so far been found in about 45% of the people tested in the United States. The discovery of the stupid virus, normally found in algae, was revealed at the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. The study, entitled Chlorovirus ATCV-1, is associated with changes in cognitive functions in humans and mice. Up just a little, please. The rather shocking takeaway from this study is that the virus alters the gene expression of brain cells. Remember this, please. It alters the gene expression of brain cells, literally making people perform more poorly on cognitive tests, visual processing, and spatial awareness. All right? You'll recall that was in my last presentation. Is this correct?
Yep.
All right. So I had to present that to you, for those of you who haven't seen it. For those of you who want to see the total presentation on this, you can go to Arcodius, ARCODEAUS on YouTube, and watch it 24/7, 365 days a year. It is there for you. It's for your higher understanding, better understanding, all right, to take you into a higher level of consciousness of what is being done and what is taking place against you, all right? But now we're going to further into that stupid virus, and we are going to take a good look at why there is a stupid virus, what is causing it, that your doctors and your highly specific nurses, and bless their heart, a lot of nurses are into a different form of healing. They believe in herbs and a lot of different things, all right? But they're under the so-called auspice of the doctors, you know the staff of life that comes up and they got snakes wrapped around it, strangling it to death, all right? So we're going to go here now to an information source of May 24, 2014, how Harvard University, Harvard study confirms that fluoride reduces children's IQ or intelligence. Now you better lock on to this. Oh, I know your dentist says, oh, you got to have fluoride, it won't harm your children. But you better understand what kind of fluoride you're working with here. And it's not only am I going into the dental profession here, we're going to talk about the fluoride that's in your drinking water and that has been there for a long time. So we see here in the Harvard study how the fluoride reduces children's IQs. Here we have some students sitting at their desk here, and it says by Dr. Mercola, please. A recently published Harvard University meta-analysis funded by the National Institutes of Health, the NIH, has concluded that children who live in areas with highly fluoridated water have significantly lower IQ scores than those who live in low fluoride areas. Well, then we could also go into a little more depth. And how about they have significantly lower IQ scores than those who live in the rural areas that have their own water wells with no fluoride in it? Now think about what I'm saying here. Now in a 32-page report that can be downloaded free of charge from Environmental Health Perspectives, the researchers said, a recent report from the United States National Research Council, the NRC, of 2006, concluded that adverse effects of high fluoride concentration in drinking water may be of concern, and that additional research is warranted. Fluoride may cause neurotoxicity in laboratory animals, including effects on learning and memory. And to summarize the available literature, we performed a systematic review of meta-analysis of published studies on increased fluoride exposure in drinking water and the neurodevelopmental delays it has with everybody, including the youth. Now keep in mind now, we're talking about the stupid virus here. All the things that they said the stupid virus does, all right, out of Johns Hopkins, I want you to listen very carefully what I'm going to be telling you today. And the city managers and your mayors of your cities and that, or whoever is in charge of your water supply, you had best get in touch with them and tell them to take the fluoride out of your drinking water. Well, let's continue, please, all right? I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because we are talking about a poison substance today that does not recognize man or woman or child. It does not recognize race. It does not, as I said, recognize gender. It will maim and destroy. Let us continue. We specifically targeted studies carried out in rural China that have not been widely disseminated to the world, thus complementing the studies that have been included in previous reviews and risk assessment reports. Findings from our meta-analysis of 27 studies published over 22 years suggest an inverse association between high fluoride exposure and children's intelligence. The results suggest that fluoride may be a developmental neurotoxin that affects brain development at exposures much below those that can cause toxicity in adults. But it'll still phase adults though. It will still affect adults because it is still a form of poison in your drinking water. A poison that your government say is okay for you to drink.
That's right.
Now this is very contrary to what is right. This is very contrary to what is wrong. Alright? Now let us continue here. And this is very important. Don't go away. Don't leave me. Because if you love your children, your wife, your husband, you love your cousins, your nephews, your nieces, your mom and pop, and your grandmas and grandpas, don't leave me. If you love yourself, don't leave me, please. And you're not going to find this information on CNBC or CNN, the Communist News Network, or Fox News. You are not going to find this information. Let us continue. Serum fluoride concentrations associated with high intakes from drinking water may exceed 1 million milligrams or 50 SMOLs, thus more than 1,000 times the levels of some other neurotoxins that cause neurodevelopment damage. Can you imagine this? And supporting the plausibility of our findings, rats exposed to 5 parts per million, 1 to 1 parts per million of water fluoride for 1 year showed morphological alternations in the brain and increased levels of aluminum in brain tissue compared with controls. And they've already told you that Alzheimer's is contributed to aluminum. They tell you openly, get rid of your aluminum cooking pots and pans. Get rid of them, because when you put water in aluminum pans and you boil water, it takes the toxicity of the aluminum off the pans, put it in the water, in your food, and thus they had said over the years now they're recognizing that aluminum is a great cause of Alzheimer's. Let us continue, please. In conclusion, our reports support the possibility of adverse effects on fluoride exposures on children's neurodevelopment. Future research should formally evaluate dose-response relations based on individual level measures of exposure over time, including more precise prenatal exposure assessment and more extensive standardized measures of neurobehavioral performance, in addition to improving assessments and control of potential co-founders. Studies have repeatedly linked fluoride to reduced IQ or intelligence. Now, are you ready? And brain damage. This is extremely important. Your government is not telling you this. You won't find this on your electric toilet, your indoctrination brainwashing screen. But you're getting it here. I want to keep saying this to you, okay? Poison knows no color or gender or age. It just maims and destroys. Let us continue. Studies have repeatedly linked fluoride to reduced IQ and brain damage. There are so many scientific studies showing the direct toxic effects of fluoride on your body. It's truly remarkable that it's not considered a scientific synthesis by now. Despite the evidence against it, fluoride is still added to 70% of all the United States public drinking water supplies, as well as other nations in the world. It makes people docile. It makes them less intelligent. And what does a corrupt government do? A corrupt government wants a docile population that won't wake up to how they're being robbed and their rights and liberties are being stolen from them. They will take the aggressiveness away from the people to react to protect their liberties and freedom and their family and their properties and their jobs and their nation.
That's right.
You state legislators in Lansing, you better get a dose of this. I'm praying that people will download this off Arcodeus, A-R-C-O-D-E-A-U-S, and put it on a disc, a DVD or whatever, and send it to your legislators or your state senators, all right, or to your mayors or to whoever, the city managers or whoever, to show them the danger of this fluoride. Many cities in the past 7-8 years have really woken up. The people have woken up where they have demanded that they take the fluoride out of the water. But the damage has already been irreparable to very many people, as well as the children, all right? It amazes me that the medical and dental communities are so stubbornly resistant to connect the dots when it comes to the skyrocketing increase in cognitive decline in adults and behavioral issue in children, such as the ADD, the ADHD, depression, and learning disabilities of all kinds. In fact, there have been more than 23 human studies and 100 animal studies linking fluoride to brain damage. Fluoride can also increase manganese absorption, compounding problems, since manganese in drinking water has also been linked to lower IQ in children. Now, reported effects on fluoride on your brain include, I want to hold on right here. I want to go back here, since manganese in drinking water has been linked to the lower IQ in children. You teachers, are you listening to me out there? Are you listening to me as to why you have a problem with your children in your classroom? You're supposed to be teachers. But how can you teach people who have a lower IQ and they have a brain dysfunction because they're being poisoned by a poison element and a poison substance called fluoride in the drinking water? Oh, and you'll say, oh, well, then they get a little obnoxious, or they do this or that. Oh, I see. Then the remedy is you put them on Prozac and Ritalin, right? Oh, we'll do that to offset the fluoride that's destroying their brain and making them dysfunctional. We'll put them on Prozac and Ritalin now, the school will, and the federal government will pay that school to have them children on them poisons. I come with the truth here today. Know you the truth, and what? The truth shall make you free. And you ministers, and you reverends, and deacons, and you pastors, listen to me. Your congregation's being poisoned. You're being poisoned in your own drinking water. My goodness, wake up. Wake up. Shout. The truth shall make you free. Now, the reported effects on fluoride on your brain include reduction in nicotinic, what is this word here? Acetylcholine receptors, damage to your hippocampus, formation of the beta amyloid plaques, the classical brain abnormality and Alzheimer's disease, reduction in lipid content, damage to Purkinje cells, and exasperation of lesions induced by iodine. Lesions of the brain, scarring in the brain, deficiency, impaired antioxidant defense systems, increased uptake of aluminum, and accumulation of fluoride in your pineal gland. Now, this isn't humbug. This isn't, oh, do you think it's happening? Oh, do you think it might take place? Oh, do you think it could? This is fact by scientific studies. You're being poisoned under the color of law, under the cover of law, by the government. And you don't even know it. And your children, your precious babies, your precious little babies, your little girls and boys are being poisoned. You think Yahweh the Christ is not going to bring judgment on you once you understand you're poisoning your children with fluoride in your drinking water? Is that why you had them? To poison them? And we haven't even touched on autism yet, and we will in this study. Now, 6 facts you need to know about water fluoridation. Now, open your peepers here now, and open your ears. 6 facts you need to know. Fluoride is the only drug that is forced as mass medication of the population with no control of dosing.
That's right.
Do you know what that means? It means the more water you drink with fluoride in it, the more you're being poisoned. Oh, they tell people, well, you should drink at least a gallon or a gallon and a half of water a day. Oh, okay. Well, okay, here we go. But what's in that water coming out of your tap from your water department? Did you know, it wasn't a few years ago, that the fluoride that is sent to the water supply plants and the places where they, the water purification or whatever, did you know it had a skull and crossbones on it of poison? It was literally marked poison? You didn't know that, did you? Well, you know it now. All right? Sodium silofluoride and hydrofluoric acid. The two most common types of fluoride in your drinking water are that: sodium silofluoride and hydrofluoric acid, excuse me with the word, which are waste products from the wet scrubbing systems of the fertilizer industry and are classified as hazardous waste. Now I'm telling you where the fluoride came from that went in your water supply. You're understanding? It came from waste products from the wet scrubbing systems of the fertilizer industry and are classified as hazardous waste. And you know what they said? You know, these people out here in the United States and these other countries, they're so stupid, they'll believe anything the government tells them to do. How can we make a buck off this waste product? Oh, I know what we'll do. We'll dump this aluminum garbage and all this toxic waste in their water system, and we'll charge them for the product to put in their system to poison their children and everybody else. And then when the neural brain receptor starts to tilt and twinkling, okay, then we'll be able to give them drugs and to counteract all these things. We'll hit them on both sides, okay? And this is the so-called lawful poisoning by the government structures in America. Not the unlawful. The lawful, under the color of law, will poison these people. These goyim out here, what the Jews say, cattle. We'll just give it to them, and they'll take it and even pay for it in their water, and they'll drink it.
It's good for your teeth.
Now, 23 plus in the we'll call humans, 100 plus tests on animals, all right, and then we have 50% on the children, okay, the effect. So 23 plus human studies, 100 plus animal studies link fluoride to brain damage. Not if, not maybe, maybe assuming it links it directly to brain damage. And 50% of the ingested fluoride is deposited in the bones of children, while only about 10% is stored in adults. It's stored in the bone. And you haven't seen anything yet. You haven't seen anything yet. And I feel it's time for this truth. It's way overdue. It's way overdue to come out to the public. Whether you're watching on public service television, whether you're watching on Arcodius on YouTube, Arcodeaus, all right? Or whether you're just watching this on a DVD or whatever. This information is way overdue to the criminality of government destroying and poisoning our people. Bringing all this hardship and grief against our people. Let's continue. Harmful effects have been known for half a century. What is perhaps most surprising is that the harmful effects of fluoride have been known by conventional medical organizations for over half a century. For example, the Journal of the American Medical Association, the JAMA, stated in their September 18, 1943 issue, September 18, 1943, that fluorides are general protoplasmatic poisons that change the permeability of the cell membrane by certain enzymes. And an editorial published in the Journal of the American Dental Association dated October 1st, 1944 stated, please, drinking water containing as little as 1.2 parts per million fluoride will cause developmental disturbances. We cannot run the risk of producing such serious systematic disturbances. The potentialities for harm outweigh those for good. And that's only in 1.2 parts per million. Part of the problem is that it's an accumulative toxin that over time can lead to significant health problems that are not immediately linked to fluoride overexposure. And in a 2005 paper entitled Fluoride, a Modern Toxic Waste by Lita Lee, PhD, writes, now this is the author, Yamayani's book called Fluoride, the Aging Factor, documents the cumulative effect of tissue damage by fluoride, commonly seen as aging, collagen damage, skin rashes, acne, gastrointestinal disorders, and many other conditions, including osteoporosis. Do we have any of that among our people today?
Just a little.
Is it a plague in our people and older people?
Right.
It is a plague. It is a plague. And it's a criminal plague. Because these people unsuspectedly trust their governments,
Right.
who have brought this plague of disease and harm unto them. This is criminality. Political criminality. Let us continue. The U.S. Center for Disease Control and the Safe Water Foundation reported that 30,000 to 50,000 excess deaths occur in the United States each year in areas which the water contains only 1 part per million fluoride. And the higher parts per million of fluoride means higher doses of poison in your drinking water, which will mean higher casualties. Fluoride suppresses the immune system. Fluoride inhibits the movement of white blood cells by 70%, thereby decreasing their ability to reach their target. The author, I'm not going to try and even pronounce this, the author of his book cites 15 references in his pamphlet entitled Lifesaver's Guide to Fluoridation that document immunosuppressive effects of as little as 10% of the amount of fluoride used to fluoride water. Immunosuppressive effects run the gamut, from a cold that won't go away to increased risk of cancer and other infectious diseases in the body. Now this is going to really blow your socks off. What you're going to see also, not only what I also said about brain disorder and IQ learning effects here, this is going to blow your socks off to what fluoride does to people. Studies have shown that fluoride toxicity can lead to a wide variety of health problems. Are you zoomed in on this in case we can pick up the wording real good? Okay, thank you. Now, increased lead absorption, disrupt synthesis of collagen, hyperactivity and or lethargy, muscle disorders, thyroid disease. In other words, you got a thyroid. Oh, doctors say, oh, everyone's got a low thyroid. We got to put them on a thyroid prescription. Everyone's thyroid is weak. Oh, really? Well, doctor, it's the fluoride in the drinking water, doctor. No, we got to make a prescription for the drug companies here. And we'll put them on a fluoride prescription, a thyroid, in order to get the thyroid up so they have more energy. No, doctor, you don't put them on the prescription. Doctor, you pick up your phone and you call someone at City Hall or whoever you can, use your impressive background as who you are, and tell them to get the fluoride the hell out of the drinking water. Because didn't you take a Hippocratic oath that you are to help people, to heal and help people and to mend people? Isn't that what you took? I know that you are licensed to practice. You're not licensed to heal. That is not on your diploma. But you can heal now with getting fluoride out of the drinking water. Let's continue here because it's going to blow your socks off, like I said, what fluoride does. It is also attributed to arthritis, dementia, bone fractures, lower thyroid function, bone cancer. It inactivates 62 enzymes and inhibits more than 100. Inhibited formation of antibodies, genetic damage and cell death to the body, increased tumor and cancer rate, disrupted immune system, and damaged sperm and increased fertility among men and women. Women can't have babies. A lot of women can't have babies. They can't get pregnant. Well, stop drinking your fluoride. And you men, if you're not capable of getting your wife pregnant, stop drinking the fluoride water out of your tap. You're being poisoned. Now, long-lost research links fluoride to cancer has resurfaced in a Dutch film clip. Dutch means from Holland, featuring Dr. Dean Burke, who in 1937 confounded the U.S. National Cancer Institute, called the NCI, and headed its cytochemistry department for more than 30 years. In the taped interview, he equates water fluoridation to public murder. Now that's a very powerful statement, isn't it? But you know what? It's true. How many people have been murdered by fluoride in the drinking water? I want you to really think about this now. All right? Let's continue here. Referring to a study that had been done on the 10 largest U.S. cities with fluoridation compared to the 10 largest without it. The study demonstrated that deaths from cancer abruptly rose in as little as a year or two after the fluoridation began in their water supply. This and other studies link fluoride to cancer. Up, please. Were government ordered, they were, fluoride to cancer were government ordered, but were quickly buried once fluoride was found to be linked to dramatic increases in cancer to the population and those drinking it. All right? And here's a picture here of Dr. Dean Burke, okay? And he put out a YouTube video. You can go to YouTube and get Fluoride Causes Cancer by Dr. Dean Burke, and you can watch all of the documentation and the evidence with your own two little peepers. So Mom and Dad, I think you should go on your computer and you should go to YouTube and look up Dr. Dean Burke Fluoride Causes Cancer and watch what's there that the government has hidden from you again. The lying, rotten political dogs in your Congress and Senate and in your White House, in your state capitals, okay, in your towns, in your cities, in your counties, all right? No, I have no respect for these people. These people were elected to put there to protect you, not poison you.
Right.
Now you may think I'm getting a little boisterous here and a little loud here, but don't I have a right to get a little loud when I'm documenting the murder of your babies?
You're white, you can't do that.
Oh, you'll say, I'm a hater. How can I be a hater when I'm telling you who's poisoning your family and your entire community? Have you people gone crazy? Know ye the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Yahweh the Christ, Emmanuel, said this. But see, there is no truth in the land today unless you're watching the presentations of the teachers of Yahweh the Christ. Or you go to Arcodius on YouTube, Arcodeaus, and I want to thank all of you for your wonderful letters and emails from all over the world that is watching. In 17 weeks we have over 44,000 views now of people who are waking up to what is being done to them and who's done it. I want to thank you for your responses, for your assistance to continue the tremendous outpouring of truth to the world and across America and Canada and Australia and England and Germany and into Russia, into all the white nations of Italy and everywhere else. Okay, now, there we covered fluoride. It was a good covering, well documented. Well documented. All right? And now what we're going to do in phase 2, we're going to go into the second half of the poisoning, all right, of the people. And you're going to love this one. Oh, you're going to just like this one, all right. Here we go. The Italian court this is in Italy by the way, rules that MMR vaccine caused autism. The US media blacks out the story from Italy which ruled that the MMR vaccine caused autism, that the vaccines that you're injecting into your precious little babies is the autism creator of your little children, your beautiful little boys and girls. I mean, it's so sad. Here's another blackout of the information. They blacked out the information on the fluoride, and now they blacked out the information on the vaccines and the deadly poison that's being put in your babies. You say, oh, not poison? Oh, really? Oh, really? You want to find out who poisoned your children and gave them autism? You did! You allowed your baby to be vaccinated with this poison. Shame on you! And you doctors out there, you witch doctors out there that are doing this to the children. You think Yahweh the Christ isn't going to bring you forth and throw you into that fire of hell? You know, there's where the money's at. Cut, burn, or what else? Poison, cut, burn, or poison. That's the medical field in America today. But the Father said, I give you the herbs and the herbal tinctures to heal the people. Let's read now to see what else has been done to you that they're not telling you about your precious little babies, about our precious little children. Not only are they getting hammered with fluoride, get a load of this. So coming out of the Italian court in Italy, the country of Italy, which has totally been blacked out by the US media, all right? And this is dated Tuesday, November 25, 2014. That's pretty recent, isn't it? More evidence that the truth about vaccines is being withheld in North America. Here we have a vaccine going up into the nose of this beautiful little girl right here, okay? She's having poison injected up into her nasal system. That is an injection of poison, by the way. Let us continue. The debate over vaccines continues as an Italian court ruled in favor of the Bocca family, whose 9-year-old son became autistic after receiving the MMR measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine. I came across this case and felt it was a good idea to report on this, as the vaccine debate has been a hot topic in America lately. Although the case concluded in 2012, the information is just as relevant today. So what is the update on these immunizations to the babies and to our children? We realize the controversy surrounding Wakefield and his study. Please also note that the story about Wakefield being paid to create data to do vaccine makers is a false story. At the time of this false story, vaccine makers were protected from even being able to be sued. He obviously can see no benefit in creating, quote, a fake study to sue people that cannot be sued. Instead of focusing on Wakefield, though, observe the other studies involved and the massive growing movement to rethink vaccines based on science and the evidence. We also recognize that autism is a spectrum disorder, meaning that there is a wide range in how it affects people, especially the babies and our precious children. A phenomenon due to vaccines could account for some type of autism on that spectrum. And on the other hand, we recognize that there could be some genetic differences within one's DNA that could result in showing behavioral and other types of characteristics seen in what we have labeled as autism or ASD. Autism is a spectrum disorder, meaning that there is a wide degree of variation in the way it affects the people of which the poison is injected into. Here we have Valentino Bocco, this is the little boy in Italy, was given the MMR vaccine when he was 15 months old in 2004. The family has stated that immediately after the jab and their son began showing signs of serious discomfort, the Bocca family of Italy decided to act and took the case to court. And the Italian judges determined that vaccine did cause the autism after new evidence was presented, and awarded the Bacco family 174,000 euros after the Italian health ministry, listen to me, after the Italian health ministry conceded the MMR vaccine caused autism in their 9-year-old son, Valentino. That would be like the Center for Health and Disease or whatever in Atlanta down there, okay? Or your Department of Health in Washington, D.C., where the liars sit, being paid by your tax money to shut their mouth when your children are being poisoned with autism. Let's continue. Of course, this case does not come with two sides to the argument. In Britain, doctors and health experts insist that the onset of autism after the vaccine was merely a coincidence, and that other children develop autism around the same time. The official statement of the Department of Health is that, quote, there is a wealth of evidence showing children who receive the MMR vaccine are no more at risk of autism than those who don't. Just a moment, please. Let me get out my shovel. I've got to go out in the barn now. I've got to shovel the bull, you know what. Let me see. We've got to shovel this out now, and we'll shovel it out, okay, because this is nothing but a cover-up for the infectious, killing, drug manufacturing companies, all right, and jabbing this poison into your precious baby. Now, the Bocal case is not the first case where children have been allegedly damaged by vaccines. The Vaccine Injury Compensation Program has paid out over $2 billion in compensation to families who have been damaged by the vaccines causing autism in their little boys and girls. The Boca case ruling will likely reopen much debate over vaccine safety and effectiveness. This was largely made popular when the respected medical journal, The Lancet, published an article in 1998 making a connection between the triple vaccine and autism. Later on, the author's methods were discredited, but this, of course, came with controversy as well. Luckily, the news of it alone was enough for families to re-question the vaccine when thinking of their children. Now remember, they're not only getting this vaccine that's causing autism, they're feeding their children fluoride. Shame on you! Shame on all of you for letting them put poison in your children without you looking into what that poison was. And don't you sit there and badmouth me when I'm telling you the truth. That is not the way the world's supposed to run. When you learn the truth of what happened to your child, how you were deceived. How you were deceived when you took your precious little babies in there to be injected with these deadly poisons, created the autism and the brain problems and everything else to your children. Don't you throw the blame also totally on everybody else. You better go in your bedroom and cry for a while. That's what I think you should do. And ask forgiveness of the Father. And though the debate is still ongoing, many people are seriously questioning vaccines, and this isn't just the average person. Medical doctors, yes, oh, thank you, Christ. Thank you, Yahweh the Christ. Medical doctors have been educating themselves further on vaccines as to the evidence continues to pile up about the ineffectiveness and the lack of safety associated with vaccines. The number of autism cases has risen greatly since the 1970s as the number of vaccines a child receives continues to rise dramatically. My gosh, today by the time that precious little baby, that little boy or girl is not even 6 months old, they vaccinated it about 35 times, injected poisons in it. And thank you doctors that are waking up. All you doctors and you nurses, God bless you. Yahweh the Christ bless you. Although it is not yet clear what the new evidence was that concluded the Baca case, it is almost certain that it will continue to build the case for rethinking vaccines. But the blackout in the U.S. media is a prime example of how much medical information is censored in North America. Hey, what's his name? Hey, Bill O'Reilly, where are you? Hey, Bill O'Reilly, you're a good man. You've had many different jobs. I can tell by listening to you on Fox News, of which I do. You've worked a variety of different jobs to get where you are. You've worked hard. You seem to be an honest, a dedicated man, an intelligent man. Please get into this topic. Please get into this topic and warn the people about the hazards of these vaccines and the fluoride in their drinking water. Please, Bill, do it. This may add to the fact that it seems North America is a lot more unaware of healthy practices regarding medicine, lifestyle, and diet. Of course, this isn't to say that everyone is like this in North America, but when you look at the numbers, we can see that North America is among the unhealthiest when it comes to developed countries. A great example of how the medical industry tends to avoid new vaccine science comes in the case of Dr. Andrew Wakefield. He's been involved in extensively reviewing the MMR vaccine and its safety, and has found not only some scary results, but also a great opposition and blacking out of the evidence when it comes to the medical field looking at his evidence. The videos below go into this story in depth. And the following is from Dr. Mercola. All right? Quote, "It's virtually impossible to read an article about the MMR vaccine without coming across a reference to British gastroenterologist Dr. Andrew Wakefield's 1998 research published in The Lancet, which suggested there may be a link between the MMR vaccine, chronic bowel disease, and autism. Ever since the article's publication, it has remained one of the most cited yet controversial studies on the topic of vaccine safety. And few public health officials or doctors, speaking about vaccinations in the media today, failed to drive home the point that Wakefield's research was subsequently, quote, discredited on purpose by the General Medical Council in Britain, while completely ignoring the facts about what his research actually showed. And the long list of studies done since then by other researchers that back up his initial findings. Dr. Wakefield's 1998 study involved a retrospective case series analysis, which essentially reviews the clinical histories of a group of patients with a constellation of signs and symptoms that link them together and create a pattern. In this case, it was a group of autistic children with gastrointestinal problems, which led to the discovery of a novel bowel disease that Wakefield and his colleagues at the Royal Free Hospital in London first described. But rather than celebrating the discovery of a tangible, treatable, and potentially preventable serious health problem that could help those suffering with similar health issues, Wakefield's discovery became a hotly debated controversy in which Dr. Wakefield's personal and professional reputation was smeared because the drug companies were going to lose money. The poisoners, under the color of law, the drug company poisoners were going to lose some money. Let's continue here. Why? Because the clinical story didn't end with bowel disease. It also included symptoms of regressive autism after receiving the MMR vaccine. And in the years following his 1998 finding, which linked the MMR vaccine to inflammatory bowel disease and symptoms of autism, Dr. Wakefield published another 19 papers on the vaccine-induced bowel disorder. All were peer-reviewed, and none have been retracted. However, none of these 19 papers are ever discussed in the control media to make the people aware. The only study that keeps seeing the light of day is the original Lancet article from 1998. Another interesting fact is that, since that study, a large number of replication studies have been performed around the world by other researchers that confirm Wakefield's initial findings, and yet you never hear a word about those either. Now, for those of you if you got a computer or whatever, I put up these two sources on YouTube for you that you can go to prove for yourself. And what I'm saying is true, and what Dr. Wakefield said was true about the autism. For example, you go to YouTube, okay, YouTube, www.youtube.com/watch, V equals D7KBWFSYG4. You can also go to our Codius to see this too within the next week. Or video number 2 on YouTube is www.youtube.com/watch, V equals D40SUCKNJBL. All right? This is very important. All right, next please. So, autism caused by MMR vaccine, says a CDC whistleblower. This is August 28, 2014. All right? This is an article from the Rundown Live by Kristen Harris. The link between MMR, measles, mumps, rubella vaccine and autism have long been debated in and out of court. The process can be gruesome and even has a special court for a family who has a child injured by vaccine. The parents cannot simply sue the vaccine maker. And this is wrong. These vaccine makers should be liable in a court. Instead of poisoning your children and making billions of dollars off it, they should be liable for that poisoning. And you politicians, you crooks, you liars, and you cheats, you've been put there to protect these babies, not to take money under the table from the drug makers. In 1986, U.S. Congress created the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. Under the 1986 law, Congress took that power away from families to go after the vaccine creator and instead established, quote, a vaccine court, making it improbable to hold the vaccine composers accountable. Are you tuned into this? Are you screwing? Okay. And there are obvious side effects in cases such as autism. But now the epidemiologist at the CDC's National Center of Birth Defects and the Development Disabilities who received his doctorate in biochemical engineering, Dr. William Thompson, has broken his silence and revealed the truth about the MMR, about what is happening. And the epidemiologist is now taking accountability for his part in the internal fraud at the Center for Disease Control in Atlanta, Georgia. Thompson is alleging criminal wrongdoing on the part of his supervisors and has expressed deep regret about his role in helping the CDC hide the data. Thompson, in a recorded interview, said, "Oh my God, I did not believe that we did what we did, but we did." He's talking about your children here, poisoning your children. It's all there, unquote. This is the lowest point in my career that I went along with that paper. I have great shame now when I meet families of kids with autism because I have been a part of the problem. And what do we have here? We have a picture of a wonderful mother right here, okay? And this is her autistic little boy in her lap looking up to her, okay? He has autism, all right? And you know what he's saying to her? You know what he's saying to her? Why did you let them vaccinate me with all those dangerous chemicals, Mom? Why did you let them put them poisons in me? Look at this beautiful little boy right here. And this is the mother right here. She had no idea because she trusted in the medical profession and in these poisonous drug makers, okay? So, you see, know you the truth and the truth will make you free. The poisoning of the people in the United States and also in other countries. I'm Dr. James P. Wickstrom. P.O. Box 308, Linwood, Michigan 48634. You can write me, email me, drjameswickstrom@gmail.com, or go to YouTube, Arcodius, ARCODEAUS. It's Saturday, December 6, 2014. Have a great day. I hope you have learned the truth, and I hope the truth will set you free. It's time to move. It's time to protect our population and our precious little children. Thank you very much.